I just need to find my zone. I just need to find my home. I just need to find my throne. I just need to find my home. I've been waiting too long. 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 I can't look past it. Nothing at all. Nothing to mask it, but it feels so drastic. But I cannot panic, so I get my chance to throw and hit that fucking road. I've been waiting too long. 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 Can't tell it all. If I need to run back and I can't speak at all. If I can't come back, so I just need to find my zone. I just need to find my home. I just need to find my throne. I just need to find my home. I've been waiting too long. 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 I've been waiting too long.
Hello everybody, so can you hear me? Is everything okay? Because we just started and I wanted to make sure that you can hear me. So today it's going to be our third webinar and we're going to talk mostly about your homework as always, but of course we're also going to visit our Instagram to see what's new, and pretty soon your work is going to be highlighted on our Instagram. So I hope to get really good work from you because, well, as you can see, this work is actually really nice. So guys, as you can see, most of those images are going to be promoted and we hope to promote you as well. So guys, first of all, how's the sound? Because here in the studio we had, well, quite a lot of things going on, and last time I was a little bit too quiet. So we fixed that, and tell me, how did it turn out? I did? What do you mean? Did I start earlier? Like, did you start seeing me like 5 minutes ago? I hope not. Anyway, guys, tell me please, can you hear me well? Okay, sound is good now. Great. So that is very important for us to keep the communication going. Well, because we want you to hear me without any further adjustments. So, very important disclaimer. We need you to go back to, if you still haven't gone through the Let's Start, this is the last call, because next week the folders are going to be a little bit shortened, and well, let's just continue going through our folders. So those of you guys that are going to get good reviews, please keep only those images that will have exclamation mark or 2 exclamation marks. 2 exclamation marks will mean that this image is great for your first shot, and 1 exclamation mark will mean that it's actually going to be good for some other time. So right now we're just going to jump through those and talk just a little bit about the inspirations, because we went through this topic already, so you know what to look for. And since you love this kitchen, let's just put a little bit more love into it by adding the 2 exclamation marks. This is actually something good to work on. There's a lot of images that we will be working on, and of course, remember guys, that we want you to learn a lot, not only adding 1 texture and creating some nice mood. So this could be your second shot, but you can do lots better. So let's avoid pictures like that. But anyway, as I said, we're not going to focus mainly on our inspirations, because you already know the drill. So let's just jump into the homework itself. And guys, last time we started from Zara, or did we start from Andrea? Because I want this to be balanced. And by the way, one of you guys, it was Theo, asked me a question, and let me just read through it. And I suggested not using camera zoom. Well, it's not like a camera zoom is in any way bad option to work with, because it's not. But what you need to understand, that in this homework with perspective, we want you to make sure that you work on more physical values, and using the zoom factor is not going to affect the image quality, because Corona and pretty much any other rendering engine is still going to render this picture 100% accurately. But what changes is the readability of the image. So once you would try to go back to the settings, the zoom factor, well, you wouldn't be able to tell any other professional that you use lens 15 plus zoom. That would be a gibberish, and you just need to avoid that. Please, for zooming, use other lens, but still refrain yourself to the limits that we provided you, just to make sure that your eye is not going to treat your images as artificial. That's super important to keep this balance. It's just one of those things that are just going to be this key element. Without it, everything is just going to look weird. And as you can see, this is just not something that you would expect in real life, unless you're, I don't know, drunk or high. So let's just avoid that and keep to the values that we provided you with. So that's the main reason why we avoid using zoom factor. But it's not necessarily a mistake, and Corona allows you to use really nice tools in 3ds Max, but more about it later, because we've got plenty of topics to go through today. So work in progress, and it looks good. So this needs a little bit scaling around here, but so far so good. I cannot really tell you much about work in progress, so let's just jump into another picture. So we're going to figure out what we have. And yeah, this looks totally amazing. So clean. Could you also post a shot with wireframe, or at least the edges, so we can see everything? Because right now this looks so clean. Are you sure you haven't copied my model? Because this is ridiculously good. So as for somebody who starts with zero knowledge of 3ds Max, are you sure? Okay, it's level 1, so you created a box once. Yes, I can do it now. So yeah, do it. It's always going to be helpful to see the wires. Mostly because right now, since we have time to learn, let's actually take our time to learn. Okay, so Clary, absent. Okay, Clara told me that she won't be able to attend. She has a really strong crunch at her work. So at this moment, I'm just going to skip her folder. But okay, same case. I can see that the teapot is really nice. We've got some stretching here, I guess, but I'm not really sure because I cannot see the wire. So if you could please post the wires as well, it would be really good to see them. So the wires are really important for us to understand. How did you go? How did you do? Because right now it looks good. So the main premise is pretty much met. In any shape or form of this model is correct, and I like it. But if we want to get a little bit more into details, we need to see those. And from what I can see right now, this looks really nice. So congratulations, this was really nice. Guys, tell me, what was the most tricky part about this? And also, those of you that are a little bit more experienced, tell me how much did you learn anything? Did you get something new out of it? And of course, did you see some kind of progress in your modeling? Because we're going through a lot of tools, and we want you to understand that there are many ways to create models, and some of them are going to be better, some of them are going to be worse, but in the end we want you to be able to pick the most efficient way to model. So Donald is joining our group a little bit later, so we still haven't reviewed his folder, so we're going to snap toggle was a challenge. And yes, it is a challenge. Most of the time it's not going to be necessary to use it, but it's very helpful to quickly move objects from one spot to another when you need this extra precision. Most of the time I would suggest you to ignore this and not use it. So it's just something worth knowing, especially since most of you are architects. Tell me about that one. I know. So as looking at your renders, those are really great. I cannot really stress enough how good those are. But still, we've got plenty of room for improvement, mostly in the light department, materials, and the overall contrast of your work. Because right now, it's not necessarily any way bad. It just lacks the depth. So that's one of the things. Also, adding the backgrounds. Right now, even though you pretty much get the main idea, you do this one thing that most of the, let's say, photographers try to achieve. They over Photoshop the background to make it look unburned, but at the same time you didn't do the same thing here, or actually you made some fake light source, which is actually bringing a lot of light around here, and it's actually reflecting around here. So that's one of the details that we like to avoid, because we try to avoid using fake lights when it's not necessary. And if we do, I would suggest placing them in spots that a real life photographer would also place them in. So as for your sample renders, I must say that your level is really good. Let's see what grade did you give yourself. So you didn't actually give yourself any kind of grading, but okay, this is really nice CPU, quite a lot of RAM, so I guess you will be able to create a lot. So since Donald joined a little bit later, we're going to go through his inspirations, because those are very important for us in this stage. So at this moment, I would say that this is a really nice shot, but we also want you to not only get something educational, but something that is going to look great in your portfolio. And this kind of shot is not a portfolio shot, mostly because it's not showing anything interesting in this main area. So I would strongly suggest you add something like this. That is going to be more impressive. It's going to catch an eye. And since you are really advanced, we still need to check out your homework, how you're going to do, if you're going to do well. Let's say a setting who's getting the hardest work is going to be done during the weekend, because during the weekend you're going to get quite tricky homework, and I hope that everybody is going to be able to follow it. It's not going to be hard, don't get me wrong, but it's just going to require you a lot of focus and a lot of clicking. So shots like this are really amazing, because we've got this nice concrete, we've got nice light sources, which are not the main light source, and we can actually use a lot of information in this picture about the lighting. So I really like it. So we're going to review those a little bit later during the weekend, but from all the shots, I must say that for somebody on your level, Donald, I'm just going to give you a double exclamation mark all the way. Okay. One of the students already uploaded this very same shot, so congratulations, guys. And again, this is something that is going to be very eye-catching. And as for this fireplace, if you would decide on creating this one, I actually worked for this manufacturer, so I can send you exactly this fireplace model in 3D, so with just basic materials, because they wanted it for all the platforms, so it went in standard material. So really nice inspirations. It really shows that you have good taste, so that's always really nice idea, nice thing to have. Homework number 1, since we haven't reviewed your homework yet, let's just go through it. As expected, everything looks really fine. I guess you need to work a little bit on the welding around here, because it's probably a little bit too much in this area, and we've got this misalignment, so probably nothing really important. Okay, a little bit of pinching. Again, this pinch is actually not acceptable for somebody who knows a little bit more about 3ds Max, so please try to go back and fix that one element just to better understand what we're dealing with. But we've got also this homework number 2, and yeah, it looks nice. What do we exactly have here? Clean mesh, nice wires. I would say that, yeah, you passed. So maybe you skipped that chair. It looks like you know what you're doing. Okay, this is something, there's something weird going on the bottom of the hood, because you can see that those lines are actually getting a little bit wonky. Okay, yeah, they went a little bit south. Anyway, yeah, print screens look fine. So the whole premise of this task was to pretty much play just a little bit with the cameras to make sure that you're able to manipulate it, play around, move around it, and it seems like it wasn't really a challenge for any of you. So let's move to another folder. Okay, inspiration images. So Eric is also joining our group a little bit later. So let's see what did he add. But first, let's see what kind of machine is he starting with. So that's something to behold. So 64 gigabytes of RAM and really nice CPU. So again, we're going to pretty much be limited by pretty much nothing. Okay, it depends on how good you are in modeling, but most of these shots really look like strong entries to anybody's portfolio. When it comes to stones like this, there's no easy way. It is sculpting or using photogrammetry. So guys, do you know photogrammetry? Because I know that some of you are going to ask what it is. So let me just go into it. Let's just start by pretty much showing you what photogrammetry does. So those of you that have a mobile phone can pretty much do the same thing as you see right now. By taking a lot of pictures from different angles, you can scan almost any surface or any object as long as it's not animated. So anything that is alive, like a dog, is not going to be scannable unless you've got a professional studio for that. But as you can see, this is pretty much a scan of some kind of I don't know, playfield, board game. Anyway, it looks really nice and it can be used as part of your 3D renders. Mostly because when you have access to, let's say, manufacturer or your client's interior, you can actually take a few photos and use some of the elements of it. So pretty much photogrammetry is scanning your world around and putting it in your 3D. It's a really efficient but quite tricky thing to do. So those of you that would like to learn that, I would suggest you read about it a little bit more, but visiting Sketchfab to download those models. How do you make it in 3D? You need to take a ton of photos to make it. But anyway, I digress. Let's not focus on it. So creating stones like this is going to be either sculpting or a photogrammetry, because just a regular model, just a regular texturing is not going to be enough unless you really want to waste weeks on it. So I would say that this is a nice picture, but we cannot go for it. This is a mix between the interior and exterior. Can we use displacement and bump for this? Yes, we can, but in that case, preparing a map like that would still take a lot of time. Just unwrapping the model would probably not be as painful as creating the texture itself, because this would require external software, not only Photoshop, but also using Substance Designer or ZBrush. And that is not going to be something easy to work with, at least not now. Since you are really quite advanced from what I have seen, and you've got really nice computer, we can actually focus on pretty much any image. But I know that just using that, okay, this is going to be quite challenging. I mean, it's not hard, it's actually quite easy to create, but at the same time, there's a lot of detail that is going to take you a lot of time. So we will have to talk about this, Eric, and see how much time do you have for your disposal. At this moment, I don't want to decide for you, so we will have to consult on this. But you uploaded really nice things. So again, another student with nice taste. So let's just go into it. Yeah, pretty much everything looks fine. No, really, I cannot say anything about this. Just you did what you were asked to do. Yeah, really clean model. It looks really nice. I see that you know what you're doing. So no further reviews are necessary. This is a really nice model, and you added an extra touch. So congratulations. I see that you had fun with it. And that's the most important element of it. So Francesca, Jade. Okay, Katerina, let's just go through your homework now. Okay, great. Looks good. You could pretty much create one shot out of it, but I can see that your time slider popped up and you probably didn't. Are you creating animations in your 3ds Max? Because maybe you know exactly what you're doing. Oh, Quixel Megascans, that's the different thing. Using them would actually be really helpful. So for those of you that do not plan to use your 3ds Max for animation anytime soon, you can pretty much turn off your time slider like this. So right click on any empty area in your 3ds Max and click on time slider. So by doing that, you're going to get a little bit more extra space in your 3ds Max. It's not really that necessary to do so, but as you can see, it's actually going to give you this 1 or 2 centimeters. And Katerina, if you would like to get rid of those extra menus, you can pretty much do that as well. Because as you can see, the time slider is also going to be an annoyance. So you may want to avoid using that. So let's now go back to our 3ds Max talks. And as for your model, everything looks fine. And again, I see that you had just a little bit of fun with extra objects. So yeah, everything looks good. I see that you like those dynamic shots, so that's also important to assess who are we dealing with, because most of you are just going to try to create a few shots, but sometimes we have shots like this, and yes, there is some kind of Avengers touch in it. So as for your homework, everything looks fine. Maybe you have any questions, because right now I can see that you all know what you're doing. So let's go for Kenna. Okay. So I really struggled with 3x3 modifier, which is why I think this happened. Yes, this happened mostly because you probably moved your vertices away from each other by using 3x3 modifier. So since you had this grid around here, you probably use the x-axis and stretch them out. So to fix this, go a little bit lower, go back to your editable poly, and there please try to first scale this red line flat. And then we're going to make sure that your 3x3 and your mirror of symmetry is set correctly. So we're not going to go into the details about this right now, but Kenna, please contact me. We're going to go into your screen and we can actually fix this with a little bit more explanation. So guys, if you have this problem, it's probably just that you overstretched some of the vertices or edges, and that's why they didn't connect. Always make sure that to look around your model. Try to look at it from the top, left, right, to make sure that everything is on point. And when you do, it's just going to be like this. So you're going to avoid situations like this. But it actually looks good. So we're going to fix it, and we're going to be done in seconds. Your chair got too late. Yeah, it does. So we're just going to try to fix that. What about my inspiration? We will talk about them or next time. As for inspirations, as I said, we're just going to go through your folders. We're not going to stress about those inspirations right now because it's going to be quite well. Next week, we're going to pick the most beautiful shots, and of course, at this moment, with your level of knowledge, we can actually go through everything a little bit further and pick something harder for you. Again, if we have this shot a little bit wider, it would actually look really nice in your portfolio. So every shot that you have is really high grade. Okay, this is pretty much a close-up, so avoid shots like this, guys, because right now we're still going to create shots like this with depth of field, but it's a separate lesson. We're going to get into it somewhere next week, so avoid close-ups just for now. Okay, and as for this shot, I guess it is also good, but I'm going to give you only one exclamation mark. Let's go back to Małgorzata now, and let's see what do we have. Please check the link, they have much more photos. Okay, so as I said, we're going to review. Our team is actually reviewing your inspirations in our free time. We're talking about what kind of shots we should pick for you. So right now we're going to still go through all of your shots. Guys, remember, if you still haven't found any kind of inspiration that you find to be inspiring, good for your portfolio, and that you would feel good actually working on this, please try to look for 2 or 3 more images maximum and pick something that has this oomph. So make sure to look for those. Okay, really nice. Could use a little bit love around the handle, but the topology looks quite clean, so no further questions. Okay, so we've got those shots already picked, so I see that Małgorzata already decided on what she's going to work on, so congratulations. And let's see Mario's folder. I see that you really had a lot of fun with this teapot, so let's just quickly go through your folder and see what we have. As for the books and stuff like repeatable items, I'm going to teach you how to add them by, let's say, either scripts or scatters. So right now you won't be forced to place 1,000 of books, because believe me, this takes time. Back in the future, it wasn't possible to do such things automatically. Right now, there's a lot of options to do that. So we're going to explore those during our course. Shows like this are not really good for any kind of education, because this is pretty much one light source, one model of a curtain, and pretty much white interior. So it's actually good for, let's say, a side project that you can do in your free time, but we need you to focus on something a little bit more detailed. Like this. This is actually a quite nice shot, but from what I can see, it's either an early stage of an office or really well done 3D visual. So I would say that this is a nice shot. To make it look believable and realistic, we should add a little bit of items around here. So this is actually a really nice 3D visual, or as I said, it's early stage of somebody's office. But I'm really not able to tell at this moment. I put two inspirations as well. So we're going to review them later, because last time I got carried away and didn't talk about the photogrammetric, not photogrammetric, but parametric elevations, how to create them, and you probably would like to learn that more than just look at somebody else's inspirations. By the way, guys, you can share inspirations between you guys. You can trade them, or you can just steal them. What I mean by that is that a little bit of competition is not going to be a bad idea, but let's not get competitive. It's just that we can share things and we can actually work together. So it's going to give you a little bit more edge over the rest of the group because you will be able to share some of the elements, or share the knowledge about your scene. But the thing is that we want you to actually work on it alone when it comes in terms of modeling, lighting, but you can share information and experience. I stopped here on last video because of software problems I told you about, Mike. I'll continue. It's okay. So from what I can see, again, this handle could probably use a little bit more scaling, especially in this area. But other than that, it looks really nice, because I see that you have had a lot of fun. So yeah, good job. And I see that you already added your own modifiers. So you're not going to use a lot of volume select. I'll give you that. And mesh select is also not going to be a best idea. So you're going to figure it out soon, but right now I would say that some of those are not exactly the most used. Okay, and we still need wire, because, well, your model looks good. Okay, beginner level 0 and the rest of the homework. So congratulations, this is a really nice homework. So where were we? There's just so many of you guys. I love this group so far. In Rhino is scattering like that also isn't really a feature. And in 3ds Max, the scattering is actually a feature that comes with Corona Renderer. So I would say that we're going to have a lot of fun. Some of the shots you need to understand that are not going to be necessarily looking one-to-one when we are done with them, because some of those shots are going to be over photoshopped, or somebody's just adding fake elements to it. So that's always nice to remember, and we need you to understand that we are avoiding shots with this super high level of Photoshop. You can pretty much see that somebody was working quite hard with Photoshop on this. It is impressive, it looks good, but it's not realistic. It has a lot of Photoshop on it and a lot of fake lights. So it's not necessarily a bad inspiration. It's just that some of those shots, as we already seen, are going to be a little bit harder to reproduce because of that. But nothing is impossible. We're going to show you that as well. So right now, let's go through our homework, and nothing's here. Miroslava, I'm counting on you. So please start adding some of your homework to your folder. And I can see that you have access to it, so nothing is holding you back. Nathan. Great. Nice shots. this doesn't look like, okay, this was a table. Okay, the top shot got me there. That's why we need wire, because I didn't know what I'm looking at. Okay, no previous knowledge. Nice model. Could use a little bit of touch here and there again, but no real mistakes. So again, really nice. You already have your inspirations picked, so it looks like we're almost ready to start working on all of that. So as for homework, you're actually doing so well that checking the homework seems like a little bit of waste of time right now, because all of you are doing so well. Could you please give me a little bit of trouble? As I didn't know if I needed to install Corona, I am... Okay, basic camera, the physical camera is actually the proper way to go before you install Corona. Right now, you could install it, but make double sure that you do not start your Corona trial. Not yet, because we just don't want you to waste this precious time with free software, which is also going to be beneficial for both your company and yourself. So right now, it's just not yet at the moment. So guys, I'll give you enough trouble when we start rebuilding our inspirations. Yes, please. Right now, nice shot. You may want to change this from high quality to standard, so your light is not going to look like this. Right now, it's not necessarily a mistake, but you can see that it actually looks a little bit dark and grim. So you may want to avoid that. But I appreciate the disclaimer. A little bit of stretching around here, so we're going to have to look into that. I guess we've got a little bit of rogue vertices. Still need a little bit more transitions here and there, but it looks good. So as for the hood, perfect job. We need wires to really assess what you have done. So Paula, we are going to look into it. And as for the email and the laptop, sorry for still not answering your email, but it's just that before the webinar, I wasn't able to give you an informed response. So as for the inspirations for SAD, I would say that we've got a lot of work ahead of us. This is a little bit too easy for you, so I'm just going to ignore this one. But still, remember guys that after today, we're going to review your folders once more, and at the end of the week, so somewhere around the Sunday, please go into your folders and delete all of those inspirations that didn't get any marks, and add some kind of grading to it. So from 1 to 5. Those inspirations that are going to have 1, those are least desired. But those that are going to get 5 are going to be the most desired by you, because we don't want you we don't want to force you to do something. We want you to work on your own. So in this case, you all know what you want to work on. So nothing to review here. Everything looks amazing, and I see that you already started working on your materials. So I must say that that's something. Congratulations. I can see that you're actually a little bit ahead. So yeah, looks good. But you missed the bonus buttons. Good job. Really nice job. This looks amazing. So actually, guys, remember that all the models that you create, you can also put on the internet for other people to download or buy from you. So that's also going to be something to remember. Sasha, Sergey, Shafik. So what do we have here? Okay. So all we have to do is talk about these nice inspirations. And from what I can see in your folder, Shafik, everything looks nice. So we're going to put a little bit more effort into looking through your folder, but please go on the Sunday, please move into your folder and delete those inspirations that you don't like. And remember, we are online to your if you need us, just call us or text us on the or just ask a question on the group chat. By the way, guys, congratulations, big props for being such a great sports and helping each other out. It's really nice to see how you guys cooperate. So thank you very much for that. It's actually really nice to see. So from what I can see at this moment, we're just going to have a lot of picking us as a team. So guys, please avoid using as many folders as you do right now because it's a little bit confusing at the moment. So let's just try. Yeah, it's not much, but it's honest work. Okay, so at this moment, let's just try to go through our folders without the memes. And okay, again, the model looks really great, so I won't really tell you anything about it because the topology looks great. I hope that you understand now when you worked with this teapot, you understood a little bit better why using quads is that important, especially for loops and rings. And the second thing is that all this knowledge transitions into the hood. It actually sounded not as I was expecting. So anyway, in this case, again, really nice and clean model. I'm really surprised how well you are doing, guys, because most of the people really had a lot of problems. Is it intentional that you add all the models yellow, or is it your is it the way you work in 3S Max? Because that was actually uncommon. Okay, so as for the shots, everything looks fine. Again, okay, here we need to work on it a little bit more because it doesn't really resemble the teapot, so we will have to look into it a little bit more. If you want me to assist you, just contact me anytime. Work in progress. I respect that. Thank you for pointing that out and need to redo it. You can redo it at any time you like. So, but please do it during the weekend. It's a color I also look for on Ome. Okay, that's actually reasonable. So you're actually consistent. Eating. As I said, I'm going to butcher your name, so please excuse me for mispronouncing anything. Okay, this actually looks really amazing. So let's add something to it. Of course, the grading may change over the weekend because we're still going to go into the folders and look for the most educational materials. And I would say that this is actually something really nice, but let's see what kind of computer you actually have. With 32 gigabytes of RAM, you can pretty much create anything you like. So at this moment, your inspirations really got way better. I guess all of those inspirations, yes, we're still going to review them. And let's jump into our hood model. Okay. I see that we have a little bit of problems around here. Probably some of the vertices are intersecting, or it's just the graphics bug. So we need to check this out. Please contact me. We're going to go through this as we still need to make sure that everything is fine. Add a little bit more iterations and show me the mesh, because right now it looks good, but I need to make sure that it's perfect. So good job so far. Everybody really went all the way, so congratulations. And let's see Zara's folder. So what do we have here? In this case, as we already discussed this, you can go through this topic again, but you don't necessarily have to, Zara. But it looks like everything is going the right direction. I guess we need a little bit more details from somebody who's going to work on in their own company. So with this many shots, I guess this black shot is actually really nice. We've got nice flooring, we've got interesting materials, and the windows. So I guess this is really good, but low quality image. I mean, we could use a little bit higher resolution. So it does look promising. So I will give you this one exclamation mark, but we are still going to review your shots all together. I will be reworking all of my models as I have not had enough time to spend on it. Yeah, that happens when you run a company, so it's actually understandable. But still, please add at least, if you still aren't satisfied with your inspirations, please add 2 or 3 that you really like, and we're going to talk about them during the weekend. So adding those inspirations should be done as soon as possible, but at the same time, don't go too deep into it. So you're going to get another piece of homework. So this time we're going to go even deeper into advanced modeling. So this time we're going to create this faucet. It's going to be a little bit advanced, so we're going to go through all the techniques that you already know and more, because we're going to mix some of those. I mean, we're going to use spline modeling mixed with mesh modeling, so it's editable poly plus editable spline. So you're going to have fun with that. Also, we're going to teach you how to manage your scene. So that is going to be how to import models into 3ds Max, how to use layers, and how to keep your scene tidy. Why should you put objects onto your layers, and why is it really useful? Of course, we're also going to model out a small house like this, and we're actually jumping into interiors right now. So you know that this course is actually going to be intense, and that's exactly what we intend to keep it that way. So first of all, we're going to start modeling this kitchen. Some of you asked us how are we actually going to work with our inspirations. So first of all, we're going to try to model this kitchen. This is going to be a really nice exercise to go through. I encourage you not to go too far, because you don't have to go into modeling the appliance and you don't have to create the spotlights. It's just not necessary. Don't go above what we show you during the video, because you'll be able to show off when you are actually working on your inspirations. And this is going to be something to prepare you to work on it. First of all, this is going to be rather tricky. You will have to assume some of the sizes. So as I said, when you will be working with CAD files, you won't have to assume anything. But if your client is going to give you, let's say, incomplete materials, and you just need to do this job, well, this is how you can prepare to it. So by doing it this way, and also doing this area pretty much the same way, you can now make sure that this is going to work out. And in the video, I use Corona camera, but I would like to give you guys a short disclaimer. In this case, please use physical camera. I'm going to add another video into the folder. So the thing is that right now Corona is experiencing some kind of bug that may make your camera act really, really weird. There's no known solution to it, and it's going to be really annoying to you when you start working with these problems, because they will be reoccurring even if you think that you can fix them. We had a lot of students facing this problem. We faced this problem ourselves, and we unfortunately are unable to find any solution to this bug. And as of right now, Corona renderer team doesn't recognize this as a big problem, as big of a problem as we do. So please try to use physical camera. And what I mean by physical camera is that don't use Corona cameras, even if you have a Corona installed right now, and instead go to camera and use physical. So above this physical camera, you can add a modifier, which is camera mod. So to do it, all you need to do is select your camera, right click, and apply camera correction modifier. So remember those steps. First of all, you go to camera, click on physical, and you create your own camera. It doesn't have to be targeted, and it cannot be targeted for your camera alignment. So in this case, we're just going to work on your camera like this. When you're done aligning your camera, you can now click apply camera correction modifier, and it's going to allow you to guess the ratios. And also there's a modifier called Corona camera. So Corona camera mode is going to allow you to pretty much work on any kind of camera, even V-Ray camera, the same way as you would on regular Corona camera. So if you have some kind of scene that has very specific camera settings, you can still override those by adding this Corona camera mode. That's information for those of you that are actually a little bit more advanced, and you will be transitioning your work from V-Ray to Corona. So believe me, you will do that, and you can quickly add this Corona camera mode to it. And the work, the way the camera works is going to be exactly the same. It's not going to change it. It's going to react the same way. So nothing new. It's just that you need to pretty much remember that above the regular camera, you need to add Corona camera mode. And if you want to go into this really, really helpful thing that is actually tilt shift correction, is that you will have to go into this right click apply Corona apply Corona modifier. So you need to add it in, and that's pretty much how you can do it. So you already know the BPET guy, so this is used for animation, so you can just play around with it, but you don't have to. Last time I told you that I'm going to show you how to create elevations, and pretty much how to use Corona 3ds Max to create parametric elevations and models. What does parametric mean? So it means that it's going to be mathematically calculated, or it's going to be pretty much automatic. So in this case, we're just going to create some kind of objects that are going to control your other objects and the way they behave. So you're going to be able to pretty much create any kind of shape with open or closed windows by controlling them with extra gizmos that are going to pretty much allow you this. So the thing is that it's a really, really easy process, which we are going to go through right now. And as you can see right now, I've got this morpher modifier. So I'm just going to delete that, and let's start from this easy shape. So this is going to be our base shape for our object. You can pick any object you like. It can be a teapot, or you can just start in fresh. So in this case, I'm just going to start fresh. I'm going to go for a star, and let's create a triangle out of it. So by no longer holding my left mouse button, I can control the radius of my star arms. So I'm just going to make sure that it's going to be pretty much a triangular star. And this is how it's going to look like. So right now I'm going to convert this to editable poly, and by using this star as my starting shape, I already have this extra vertices around here. You also can use any kind of cylinder or box to do this, but I found star to be a little bit easier. As my first step, I'm going to go for inset, and I'm going to inset just a little bit. The value doesn't matter. You can also inset outside. It doesn't matter, because we're going to now click on collapse, and we've got our base shape. So this is pretty much how we want it to look like. I'm going to give it a little bit of wiggle, so it's going to look more organic. And all the way around, I'm going to now start copying this object. By adding a little bit more detail into it, I'm just going to scale this. To add a little bit more detail to it, I'm just going to scale this down. So this is pretty much my secondary shot. And right now, we can either use both of those or just one of those as a reference. And I'm pretty much going to use this as my reference. So first of all, I'm going to add morpher modifier. It's going to be really easy to work with. So first of all, we want to pick our shape like this as our starting point, but we also need to capture the secondary shape. So for that, I'm going to copy this object, delete the modifier, and let's just add this empty spot with fill this empty spot with another object. So this is pretty much how we can do it. By changing this value, you can make this object appear and pretty much change its shape into the second shape. So as long as the vertex count is identical, the shape is just going to transform from one stage to another. Okay, so what now? Now we're going to use a little bit of magic. First of all, we're going to use another modifier, which is volume select. As I said earlier, we're not going to use a lot of this modifier, but I didn't say we're not going to use it at all, because right now there's a lot of options in here, but we're going to make this object react to vertices, and we're going to add an object into the selection. So we're going to try to use some kind of mesh, not a box. So this is the box of our current gizmo size, let's say. So in this case, we're just going to pick the mesh object, which is going to be this box. And there's another thing that we need to go through. We already talked a little bit about soft selection, and we're going to continue talking about it right now. So the soft selection is a really nice thing to work with. I'm going to quickly show you how it works before I continue, so you all understand what we're dealing with. So let's make this mesh a little bit denser. It's going to allow you to, let's say, better position your pillows, your sofas, everything that is going to be soft. You can use this soft selection to basically play a little bit more with it and make your models a little bit more realistic. So let's go for soft selection, set it to 150. This object is totally out of scale, so you don't have to use the same values, but instead of just moving one vertex as you would normally, we're now going to use soft selection and move it. As you can see, now we're getting this nice dents or bumps as you will, and we're actually able to control this and create this nicer shape. So by selecting multiple areas, you can actually control this and add to your objects just a little bit more organic look. Because if you would have to create this kind of curvature just by selecting one vertex and moving each vertex one by one, it would take you ages. And as you can see, this actually was really fast. But the main thing about this is this fall off. So we're going to use this soft selection to our advantage in this clearly not understandable object yet. So right now, by changing this volume select, I made sure that when the box is going to be near my object, it's going to close itself, but it has to be closer to as close as this, because right now my setup is incomplete. So what I need to do is go back to this volume select. Notice that I moved this volume select from the upper upper position in the stock above to be above, below the morpher modifier. Sorry, it's actually a lot of talking and I get a little bit confused. So right now I'm going to set this to 150. You know what? I'm going to set this to 500. And right now, by moving this object a little bit closer, you can see that it's actually reacting. But this is still not enough. So I'm going to set this to 3000. Remember, in your case, you're going to use your own scale, so the values are going to be different. But right now you can see that this object is actually closing when I get closer with this box. So you can make this object, let's say, breathe. And again, what do we want from this object right now is to make sure that it's actually reacting the same way as we want it. So the closer, since I clicked on this invert in the volume select, so selection method invert, it inverted this way of how this works. So the closer I get, the window or the triangle opens. So as you can see, it works like this. Now, if I go ahead and try to copy this 1 million times, okay, I'm not going to copy this 1 million times, but you get the point. If I copy this, did I select this? Oh yeah, it's a copy now. In most of the cases, we will be working with references, and if you want to go into detail about this technique, we already created an open webinar about this, but it's also going to be really nice to actually get your opinion on that webinar. So right now I'm going to continue copying these objects all together. So let's just create some kind of wall. It's not going to take a lot, but right now we've got this nice line, and let's create this nice effect. As you can see, those objects are reacting. So if you would start with some kind of really, let's say, dense mesh, let's say like this, and let's make this 25 by 25 and by 25. Let's convert this to editable poly, and let's imagine that those are your windows and you copied them in and everything is okay. So first of all, I'm going to split all of those elements. So all of this, those polygons are separate. You can actually move each of those separately. And by following all of those steps, you can pretty much make those windows open and close just by making this object appear a little bit closer or further away. Guys, would you like me to continue with this topic, or you want me to move on to something else? By the way, guys, I would like to remind you to check the custom default switcher, and again, go to make sure that you've got max in your case. So right now I'm just going to delete all of those objects so we don't have to get into too many details. And by following exactly the same steps, I'm just going to add a volume select, morpher, and we can now capture the state 1. So on the same object, you can pretty much, let's just cut this. By the way, guys, new information. Did you know that you can cut, copy, and paste modifiers? Now you do. So I'm just to make sure that this volume select is not going to be annoying in any case, I'm just going to right now save this state of my morpher. So this is my initial state of this building. So capture current state, captured. Let's just stretch it out a little bit. So this is now captured. I can now go to editable poly, scale this down or up, depends on what you want to make. So let's just scale it down. So the maximum you can go with one scaling is something approximately 7. So I guess this is going to be enough. Now let's just try to go back to our modifier. And right now this is the morpher. So let's select the second state and pick this current state. So captured state 02. And right now, if we try to go 100% here, nothing is going to happen. But if we go 100% here, well, this happens. So you can control your objects like this, especially if you plan to create some kind of fancy animation in the future, or you just want to make sure that you'll be able to control a lot of objects and their position in different shots from one interior. Now we can actually paste our modifier back, so that's volume select, and let's pretty much follow the same settings as we did last time. So I'm going to go for mesh object, select this box around here, and of course we need this soft selection again. So 3000 is going to be enough, but since I want this to start from the closed windows, we're just going to make sure that we're actually working with it. So let's now move our box inside this object, and as you can see, this actually happens, and this is cool. So you can pretty much make your objects interactive, and pretty much this is going to be very useful in your work when working with parametric elevations, when working with a lot of stretching. You can do a lot with it. More info about this technique was shown in our open webinar, so visit our YouTube page and look for yourself, because we're also showing you a little bit more information about that. So you can use this to your advantage with many applications, and well, it's going to be helpful as well as for animation and for your regular interiors. Can we do this with lights as well? And actually, not all objects are going to work like this, but we're going to be able to work with lights like that in the other way. So I'm going to show you how to do that, and that is also going to be quite impressive. So I really hope that you'll like that. Again, going back to our homework, remember, in this video, I say something that you can start working with your own inspiration. Don't do it yet. We still need you to select those, and don't start working on your own inspirations. Start working on your on the images provided, because right now the group is really doing great. That's why we cannot start working on those images yet, because I really want to make sure that everybody's on board. There's a lot of beginners, so please try to work on the images provided. This is going to be a fun task, and I promise you that. So guys, I guess this concludes our today's webinar. Any questions so far? What was the deal with the trees you showed briefly? Oh, the deal with the trees. So in this case, this is exactly the same setting as with the box. So in the future, when you'll be creating some kind of exterior shots and you want to get this effect with your concrete or with your any other settings, pretty much this is how you can go for it. And right now, let's click close on this one. And right now, this is very important to understand that if you pick an object that has a lot of vertices, like I did right now, this tree is actually a disaster to add. And if you would work with a simple box like this, remember that we've got this setting. Okay, by the way, this is a beautiful. I actually love this this one element of volume select and the soft selection. This nice gradient of colors. It's actually always looking good for me. So as you can see, it's fun to work with. Anyway, as I was saying, this object and volume select is set to vertex. That means that it's going to react to each vertex in your control object. That means that if you move your object and you actually try to, let's say, add more segments to it, the way this modifier works, as you can see, it's going to be way slower. So limit yourself to regular boxes. And if you want this to, this effect with trees like this, don't add trees like as your object. Add the box, make it invisible, or hide it beneath the ground, whatever. And you can still use a really nice thing, and that is, let's say, let me just create a teapot now. So teapot is always a good solution to everything. And we can now click on align, click on this object, and we can quickly move those objects into their positions. So we've got a lot of options in here, and we don't necessarily have to explore them because working with pivot is going to be the best idea right now. So by grabbing these two objects, I now know that this teapot is not reacting with this box, and this box is actually reacting with our windows. So if we grab both of them, we fake this effect without the need of actually adding this teapot. So this means that we save a lot of resources. Your scene is going to react lots and lots faster, and we still get this cool effect. You don't have to limit yourself to just boring scaling. You can actually do something more fancy as long you have the same vertex count. Because as soon as you start extruding, it's not going to work like that. So, guys, could we group the tree with a box and let the box do the work? Yeah, that's exactly what you explained. Yes, Theo, that's exactly what you can do. How can we I scatter these shapes in organic forms if I have an architecture form? So about scatters, Sad, we're going to talk a little bit more later, or you can visit the video I already suggested you because I actually talk about the same technique, but only using the scatter and distance map. But more about it later because that's coming soon. And as I said, we're going to learn both of those ways because both the geometry and this nice setting is welcomed. Remember guys, you can also add modifiers on top of this object and make it react a little bit better. So now we've got this flying bricks that look really nice and sci-fi. So as I was saying, we've got this nice objects reacting to one another, and as you can see, we've got this nice reaction between them. Could you please have a look at my wire hood before we finish the webinar? Yes, of course. Let me just go back to your folder, and it's here. So about the wire. Okay, what do we have here? It actually looks good. We could use a little bit of zoom on this place because I'm not sure if it's actually entirely correct because there's some kind of cluster going on. You could zoom in on it, but if the mesh is smooth and it doesn't appear to have any problems, it probably doesn't. But I'm not sure because there's a limited number of pixels in here, so I cannot really tell you anything about that. Mine too, I just uploaded. Of course, I'm just going to go into it, and wasn't this already here? I guess I don't know what kind of mesh are you talking about, Yiting. Guys, if you could the sync. Okay, so in this case, everything looks fine. I guess, yeah, everything looks good. The wire, everything, yeah. I guess you probably forgot about one line around here, so that's why we've got this small pinching, but it's not necessarily a mistake, it's just an oversight. So I guess, again, this is all for today. You probably already have this homework. So thank you very much, and see you on Monday. So again, thank you very much, and see you on Monday. VizAcademy, mic out.